Say, today I wish to talk something about the recent controversial statement made by Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin, saying that Sanatana Dharma is like a dengue, it is like some coronavirus or something like malaria, and it has to be eradicated. If it is really bad, it would have really gone. It would have been eradicated long ago. But it is existing. So we have to see what exactly is Sanatana Dharma. Instead of countering him and instead of saying that he doesn't know anything or anything like that, of course, legal action is being taken. That's a different thing. I wish to examine the two words Sanatana and Dharma because there are two words in that Sanatana and Dharma. Both are slightly different. Sanatana becomes an adjective. When we use the word Sanatana Dharma, then the word Sanat, when we use the compound word Sanatana Dharma, this word, the part of it becomes an adjective for Dharma. So, what is this Sanatana and what is Dharma? Let us examine. This word Sanatana literally means, it does not mean ancient. Many people think that Sanatana means, oh, something which is ancient, which is some remote, something belonging to remote past, etc. Sanatana means something which is eternal. There are certain eternal values in human nature, and there are also certain eternal things beyond human nature also. Beyond human nature, there are certain eternal things. So these are the things which are called eternal. Will just go into that. And dharma is something which holds the society. That also I will explain later. So these two words are there. Sanatana, first of all, we have to see that Sanatana does not mean ancient. It means something eternal. You see, like kindly refer to all the dictionaries. All the dictionaries will say Sanatana is eternal. For example, Amarkosha. Amarkosha is one Sanskrit dictionary we know. Amarkosha says, Shashvatastu dhruvo nitya sadatana sada sanatana. Shashvatah dhruvah nityah sadatana sanatana. In fact, this tana is only a pratyaya, what we call a suffix in English. Pratyaya. Like Puratana, ancient, Adhunatana, most modern. Then again, Adyatana is used in Sanskrit only. Adyatana is today, something which is happening today. Adhunatana is used in all languages. So, Tana is only a suffix. So, this Sadatana, Sanatana means something which is eternal. Sada means eternal. Sana means eternal. Sanatana, something which is eternally valid, eternally applicable. So then, this word Sanatana, again, it is again a very ancient word. As we see, all of us are familiar with Aditya Hridayam in Valmiki Ramayana. In Valmiki Ramayana, sage that Agastya comes and teaches this Aditya Hridayam to Rama. He says, okay, you do this japa for 3 times, and then basically to infuse some sort of moral courage, not moral courage, some sort of enthusiasm into Rama. Not that Rama was weak or anything like that, to give some enthusiasm to Rama. So there, Agastya says, Rama Rama Mahabaho Shrunu Guhyam Sanatana. Hey Rama, Shrunu Guhyam. You listen to this ancient thing, which is Guhyam means something which is highly precious, something which has to be protected. Guhyam does not mean the secret, it has to be kept away from people, etc. Not like that. It has to be protected. It has to be, say, guarded. It has to be honored. It is something, a very, very precious thing. So, Shrunu Guhyam Sanatanam. Sanatanam is something which is always applicable, which is eternal. And there he tells about the Aditya, how Aditya represents the eternal truth, eternal reality. So then again, we come to this, what is eternal reality? What is that eternal reality? Suppose we want to examine what is eternal. Then all the things we see are not eternal. The whole universe is not eternal because the whole universe is undergoing change every minute. And it was not there a few billion years ago, and it will not be there a few billion years later. Then suppose the human mind, for example, it sees the 2 plus 2 is 4. We think that that is something which is eternal. 2 plus 2 is 4, a mathematical equation is eternal. But that is also relatively eternal, we have to say, because the human mind is so constituted that 2 plus 2, it sees two things here and two things adjacent to that. And then it says 1, 2, 3, 4. So the human mind is so constituted that it is made to perceive things in a particular way, and then it sees 2 plus 2 as 4. Suppose the human nature or human mind is differently wired, let us say. Then again, we can't say that it is eternal. Then what is eternal? So that is exactly what our ancient texts, they want, their inquiry was entirely about what is eternal, what is nityam, what is something which is beyond everything, with that which is always there, past, present, future. Trikala badhyam, they say it is beyond past, present, and future. It is always there. So there, then what is it? There is a lot of deliberation. There is a lot of deliberation in the Upanishads, and then they analyzed what is eternal, and they said what we call intelligence or consciousness. That is something which is eternal, because for everything there is consciousness for every to know everything. Consciousness is very primary. Consciousness is very primary, and then when I say I exist, there are two components in that. The knowledge that I exist, or the awareness, or intelligence, or consciousness that I exist. And then that existence, that component of existence is there. So these two things, they are there universally there. They are there universally and eternally there. Whether there are two things or there is again one thing only manifesting as something else, that again is a debate. For example, to say that these two things are there, matter and mind, these two things are there, that is one argument. There is one argument that it is only consciousness which is manifesting as matter. Consciousness only, it has got its, so, it is appearing as matter. Consciousness is appearing as matter. That is what our Vedanta says. One important sect in Vedanta. Of course, Vedanta again has different sects. People say, no, 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 there are two things. And some people say, no, there is only one reality, that one reality is manifesting. Even science is grappling with the problem. We know that modern physicists, they have not been able to come to a conclusion whether only consciousness is manifesting as matter, how consciousness is creeping into the so-called inanimate thing called the brain. So these are the things which the people are doing, and let us leave it to the people of science. And when we say that this consciousness and eternal consciousness and this whatever this matter, these two are eternal or one is eternal, then will it be something which is limited? Suppose I am also a conscious entity, but I am not God or I am not eternal. Then what is eternal? Something which is there beyond all this universe, beyond all this creation, which is always there, past, present, and future, and which is not limited to a particular place. If we say that God is somebody who is who is eternal, and this God is sitting in heaven, etc., if we say that, we are making a great mistake. What is that mistake? We are making that gentleman, however great he may be, he is confined to a particular place. He is not, and his enemy, the name of devil, is there somewhere else, etc. So what we say, what Vedanta says, is that this consciousness is something which cannot be described by he or she or anything. We have to say it. We have to use the pronoun it, and that it is something which is all pervading. It is infinite. It is beyond whatever is created. So that infinity, that is what we say, consciousness, existence. Existence means that what we call matter, and again infinite. So infinitely existing consciousness is something which is eternal. That is the only thing which is eternal. Not even human nature. Suppose, for example, our rishis, they also examined human nature. When they examined human nature, they found three qualities in that. That is what is called sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna. That is their universal. You see, it is not that sattva guna is there only in India. Sattva guna is there in Africa. Sattva guna is there in America. Sattva guna is there in Europe. In fact, there are more number of people there are many people in the Western world who are having this sattva guna. It is because of them that they are actually respecting our Sanatana Dharma. Many people in America or Europe, they have respected our Sanatana Dharma only because they are endowed with this Sattva Guna, that is seeking knowledge. Sattva Guna manifests as something which is having a love for knowledge, truthfulness, straightforwardness, etc. So anyway, I will not go into that. Even this human nature is something which is not eternal. It is relatively eternal, we can say. Human nature is relatively eternal. It is there only as long as this creation exists. So when this creation is over, when it gets resolved and then another creation comes, maybe it will again be there. So it is again what we call guna, what we call this human nature, sattva guna, rajo guna, even that is relatively eternal. So the only thing which is eternal is that reality, what we call Brahma. we have to use some word. So the word which is used is Brahma. Brahma does not mean that four-headed Brahma who is the husband of Saraswati. That person is there again, a character in Puranas. But this reality called Brahma is something which is beyond all this, and that is the only thing which is eternal. So what we call human nature is Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, which goes to the making of these four varnas. And about these four varnas, I have already given about 4 or 5 talks in the same series, in the same website, this Dharma Hindu Digest website. There are already in the beginning, I think I gave about 4 talks about what is this varna. So kindly go through that, and if you listen to that, because I don't have, you don't have time to sit for 2 hours and then listen to that. Those 4 talks will fully explain what the Bhagavad Gita says and what various texts say, what our Upanishads say, all about Varna, caste, etc. So this Varna is something which is relatively eternal. As long as universe is there, as long as these 3 gunas are there in all the countries, in all the people, in all the animals also, and in all vegetables we eat. Even certain vegetables they promote sattva guna. Some vegetables promote some eatables promote rajo guna. Some eatables promote tamo guna. So there are so many things. So everything in the world is a mix of these 3 gunas. So these 3 gunas are relatively eternal. But caste is something which is not at all told in religion. Repeatedly and repeatedly, I have told in my earlier talks that caste is not something which is mentioned in religion. It is only 4 varnas which are mentioned in religion. And all the 4,000 castes or 5,000 castes which were very painstakingly enumerated by the British in order to divide India, in order to dismember India, in order to create disunity, that British mischief. In fact, this Britain is now having that great nemesis, collective nemesis. They are now having their hard times. So for all the mischief they have done in India, they are now facing trouble. Anyway, that apart, I should not curse them. So, but this caste is something which is not part of religion. This is something which we have to be very clear in our mind. The only thing eternal is that infinite thing which is called God. Because it is called infinity, you and I are not apart from infinity. And that is the reason why Vedanta says, Tat Tattvamasi, you are that, you are that. When Vedanta is saying you are not different from Brahman, it is not talking to Brahmin alone. It is telling everybody, every being, starting from an ant, starting from a mosquito, everything is divine. So that is the reason why we are asked to see divinity in everything. So it does not, the philosophy of the Sanatana Dharma or philosophy of Vedanta militates against any such discrimination. We have to be very clear about it. It militates against any such discrimination. So then now we come to this word called dharma. What is this dharma? So regarding Sanatana, I said there are only 4 varnas, relatively eternal, and there are 4,000 castes which have nothing to do with religion. They have evolved for sociological reasons, just as we need clothes today and then we need some clothmaker. Similarly, few thousand years ago also they needed a weaver, they needed a cobbler, they needed somebody like a goldsmith, they needed somebody else, all these things that are depending on the social needs of that particular time. So this is one thing. Then we come to the word called dharma. What is this dharma? Dharma is something which unites the society. Dharma, when we say, the etymological meaning of dharma is dharanat dharma uchyate. Dharanat, that which holds the society from breaking apart, from disintegrating, from getting dismembered. So that is what is dharma. When can a particular, say, code of conduct, let us say, dharma is basically a code of conduct, let us say. It is something which is a code, let us say, Manu's code or Yajnavalkya code. There are so many dharma shastras in India. Like dharma shastras in various other places also. They may not call dharma shastras, they call it some Hammurabi law or some other law. So ancient laws have been there in all the civilizations. So in our civilization also we had several such codes. So this dharma is something which has to hold the society. How can it hold the society? It can hold the society only when what it says is accepted by all the members. So otherwise, members will slip away, or otherwise, if they are forcibly kept, there will be some unrest in one section. So if there is one section, if there is unrest in a small section, and if it is somehow managed, then the society will go on with that for some time. But when that unrest grows, or when what Toynbee calls the intelligent minority or the creative minority, not intelligent minority, he calls it creative minority, becomes a dominant minority, then naturally the society that dharma cannot hold. And luckily, our scriptures very clearly says that dharma is something which is flexible. Dharma is not inflexible. When we say Sanatana Dharma, it does not mean that whatever book is there, that Manudharma Shastra or Yajnavalkya Smriti or some other Parashara Smriti, they are eternal. It does not say. Sanatana is something different, and Dharma is something different. If Dharma wants to qualify for that adjective called Sanatana, it has to undergo change. It has to undergo change, and it has to upgrade itself. It has to, say, for example, now this globalization is there. This globalization has produced so much of social change, and you have to cope with that social change. One has to cope with the social change. That is what is the say the meaning of a Jagat Guru also is the same. Jagat means Gachati. Gachati iti Jagat. It always keeps changing. Jagat Guru is somebody who manages change. He is a change manager. So that is the reason why we have got so many Dharma Shastras. What was written by Manu long ago, probably several thousand years ago, it is not applicable now, and we have not been using it. Many people do not know that we are still following Manusmriti. We have never followed Manusmriti for thousands of years. For instance, according to Manusmriti, if we see, there is one chapter called Bhakshya Abhakshya Vivaranam, what a Brahmin should eat and what a Brahmin should not eat. A Brahmin is supposed to eat five animals, five animals with five fingers. Pancha Panchanaka Bhakshyaha. This was thousands of years ago, and we don't even know. And the same thing, of course, the commentators, they are very truthfully, our commentators did not delete or anything, do any such thing. They did not sanitize the text. So they truthfully carried, and that book is there even now. The commentaries are also there even now. So Pancha Panchanaka Bhakshyaha. Then again, during what is this, what is called Shraddha, when we do some Shraddha, means some respectful prayers for our ancient people, the departed people, then we are supposed to serve meat to the Brahmins who are sitting there. We are supposed to serve meat, and we are supposed to, by that meat only, the particularly if it is, what is that meat? The venison, that is a deer. The deer is something which is supposed to be very dear. Deer is dear to the departed ancestors. Are we doing it for several thousands of years, probably at least some 2000 years or more? We have stopped doing it. Maybe earlier it was there. So that is what we. So there are many such things here. There are many such things in that code. So that is the reason why the Smritis also they kept changing depending on place, time, and occasion. And that is what people like Shankaracharya also has have said. यस्मिन् देशे काले निमित्ते च यो धर्म इति व्यवह्रियते. He says there in a passage in Brahma Sutras. A particular thing in a particular time and place in a context, what was called dharma, may not be dharma in another place, in another context, in another time. यस्मिन् देशे निमित्ते काले च यो धर्म इति व्यवह्रियते स एव अधर्मः अन्यस्मिन् निमित्ते. Some such sentence is there in the Brahma Sutra. So all people have accepted. So what all our people have to do now is to very clearly say that caste, whatever blame is put on us, it is something which has nothing to do with religion. Only Varna is there, and that Varna was also flexible in those days. Varna also was, for example, let's say one sage was having four sons, and one could be a Brahmin, one could be a Shudra, one could be a Vaishya, one could be a Kshatriya, like that, depending on the characteristics. And the Acharya used to examine him at the age of 8. A teacher, a respected person, an elderly person, used to sit and then he used to examine them, and then he used to say, okay, this fellow is fit to be a fighter. This fellow is fit to be a Brahmin, to read Vedas. This fellow is read and also teach, not only read for himself, but teach everybody. And this fellow is very suitable for, say, some business. And this man is slightly dull fellow. This man, they let him keep obeying all others. So something like that, it was flexible. In fact, that sutra, that Manu Smriti, in the chapter number 2, I think the shloka number 148 or so, Acharyastvasya yam jatim vidhivat vedaparagah. There is one shloka like that which says, Acharya will examine and then he will decide his varna. So in the beginning, when the society was small, and then when the people, were manageable in number, then probably some people they were there who were examining, and then they used to decide. But then when the society expanded, when the society changed, technology changed, and so many social changes have come, then naturally, like the chief minister's son wants to be a chief minister, every chief minister wants his son to be a chief minister, and then nobody bothers about it. Nobody objects about it. We have got dynasties, and we respect all those dynasties. We worship those dynasties. And unfortunately, we respect somebody else. We are called bhakta. Oh, you are a bhakta. But if you are following a dynasty, you are not a bhakta. You are only a slave. So anyway, that is a different thing. So our Swamijis, our religious leaders have to clarify, because this is something which is a sort of albatross which we are carrying around our neck. This is some blame which is carrying around our neck, which has to be thrown off. Unless the Swamijis make it very clear. If they keep silent, then all the people, many educated people, we need not blame this Udayanidhi Stalin, because like Udayanidhi Stalin, there are many others in the so-called forward caste also who think that, oh, this caste is something which is unbearable, which is something which is a creation of Brahmins. And Brahmins themselves, they feel embarrassed, because Brahmins themselves, they wear this caste title like a crown of thorns. Brahmin, to be called a Brahmin, is to be ridiculed somewhere. You may become a target for attack. So this is actually in a place like Tamil Nadu. This being a Brahmin is, you are liable to be attacked. Your properties are liable to be snatched. So that is something which is which can happen. So Brahmins are also uncomfortable with that. So why not our Swamijis leave that silence, and then why not our Swamijis say yes, caste is nothing to do with has nothing to do with this religion. Manusmriti, etc., they might have mentioned some caste, but they have not created religion. They mentioned some caste some a few thousand years ago. How if there is some Varna Sankara, if a Brahmin woman marries somebody from a lower caste, so you put him in this particular category. That's all. Only 14 or so have been mentioned, not 4,000. That 14 also they did not create. All these things were already existing. Somebody who goes to a forest and hunts and this brings that birds, meat, etc. It was already there, as old as humanity. So this is something, caste is something which is not created by Brahmin. No Brahmin came and said, oh, let there be caste. And there was caste. So no Brahmin said, no God said. So this is what we have to clarify. Otherwise, it will be a very sad thing. Many people will be under having that misunderstanding. Many people will have that. Not only the people who are for political purposes who are protesting, who are making an issue of it, but many other people also, many right-thinking Hindus also feel what is this caste is an embarrassment. And equating caste with Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, as we said, equating caste with Hinduism is like equating the Abrahamic religions with, say, slavery, racism, genocide, all these things. There are ample examples in history. Slavery, genocide, then again, racism, ample examples. Even today, racism is there in all the Western countries. Genocide, they are not doing. They, of course, they are doing in a more refined way, calling you, saying that you are having some weapons of mass destruction, and then they are doing. So, equating Hinduism with caste is equating Abrahamic religions with slavery, genocide, and what is this the racism. So this is what we have to see. I appeal once again. Appeal. In fact, this talk is basically to clarify to whoever are the right thinking people, to all the right thinking Hindus and other people also, to realize that caste has nothing to do with the religion. And my appeal is also to the Swamijis. Kindly come out. Otherwise, you are not going to save the society. Your job is to save the society. So with these words, I take leave. Thank you.